broadcasting system. Couple of things to talk about, and it was necessary to have him this morning to put into context some of the issues, some of the things that are happening. The national government issues that are happening with tourism. Already, the Western Legislative Caucus, they've demarcated development plans. They've drafted this plan. They've given education to Bomi County, where you have the Bomi Community College. They've given health to Bapolu County, where you have the Emirates Hospital, and then they've given tourism. That is tourism to Grand Cape Mount County, where you have the rubber sports, the Lake Piso, and all that. But as Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs, and Tourism, he will just chip in on the Western Region Legislative Caucus decision, to just give, especially throwing a light on rubber sports and giving Grand Cape Mount County the issue of tourism. Minister, again, I'd like to say good morning. How are you this morning? Good to speak with you.
Good morning. I'm okay. Good to be here. It's a good thing we enter a lot of studios, since there is a proliferation of media institutions and the sceneries are different. And I want to thank LBS for what this play looks like. I think a lot of transformative things are taking place here, and I must commend the management.
Yeah. I mean, leading up to the weekend, you were in one conference at Famit on one adaptation, conference on adaptation. You want to give us an idea about that? What was it all about?
Well, climate change is a global crisis. And most of the things that affect the change of climate are not caused by us. Smaller countries don't do pollution of the environment. But we inherit most of the problems that are caused by these actions of greater and bigger countries. And it is important that as we fit into the general concept of what we can do about that, we have to adapt, because if you are not part of something, you're inheriting the consequences, and then they're requesting of you certain things you have to do. For example, what we can do with our National Forest Reserve and all of those stuff. You just basically have to adapt. So that conference was to ensure that we come up with a declaration of the major actors in Liberia, committing ourselves to adopting to practices that will ensure that we contribute to what can be done to mitigate the problems being caused by climate change. And led by the EPA, I think they did a good job, and I was glad to have been there.
Okay. I mean, was there a specific government's commitment to climate change?
That's what the declaration was about. There was a Farmington Declaration, as we call it, that was signed unto by all those who participated, including me. It's committing ourselves and by large the government to what we are supposed to do to be a part of that mitigation process.
Yep. And like I said, I mean, leading up to the weekend, where also you attended the funeral of our colleague.
True. Trojan was a great professional journalist. But in addition to his journalistic credentials, he was a friend. I have known him for a good while. And I thought that it was important for me to be a part of bidding him farewell. We're glad that as individuals from the ministry, not the ministry, because the ministry does not have funding to help with funeral expense and all these things, but we took upon ourselves as managers of the sector to just among ourselves raise a little money that we were able to give to the family to assist with his burial. But beyond that, we thought our physical presence was key, and that's why we're there.
Yeah, and I also saw you having conversation with some of the journalists who people might deem as critical of. Is it a way to try to water down some of the high issues on the government?
We don't intend to water down anything. We don't forget we signed the permits that allow the institutions to function. and whatever they do, how people term them is okay. But these people also realize that beyond what they do with their different institutions, they know they have relationship with people. I do have relationship with most of the people that I refer to, quote unquote, as tough on government. I have known, for example, I know maybe you're making reference to see me talking to A.B. Weon.
No, just everybody.
I have a long-term relationship with Abraham Godson Weon. He's a friend. He's a brother. He's a kinsman. We come from the same country. I have known Sheku Sharif for a long time. When we see publicly anywhere we interact, anybody who people perceive to be tough people, I have a relationship with everybody. And when I meet them in places, I have to interact beyond what people think about the kind of work they do. It's not meant to water down anything. It's not my place to water down things. It's my place to erect the appropriate checkpoints when what they do is not consistent with truth telling. And we can still do that and be friends on the other side.
People want to ask, maybe you will leverage your professional and cordial relationship with these people.
Leveraging the relationship is not to determine what they do in their different places. They should just be guided by their conscience. They should be committed to truth telling, because the very journalism profession you belong to does have set requirements. For example, many of you who are journalists, you talk about something that people call the ABC. It should be balanced. It should be credible, and it should be accurate. So anything you do, whether you want to be critical, whether you want to be tough, should be guided by those principles. That's what we want.
Okay. Over the time, 2 or 3 times you've appeared, we've actually dealt with government communication and the strategies being employed to get effective, leveraging the various platforms. But basically, I called you for us to look at the tourism and cultural aspect of the work you do. I was at the ministry too. I see some of the infrastructural development. You will talk about that as well. But let's talk about cultural affairs as part of the Ministry of Cultural Affairs and Tourism. Where are we with it?
So I would prefer to talk about the ministry at large. And talking about the ministry at large, of course, we bring in culture, we bring in tourism, we bring in everything. The ministry, don't forget, has 4 major departments. Department of Public Affairs, of Technical Services, of Culture, and Tourism combined together in administration. Because it is the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs, and Tourism, and there's much more that has always been happening in the information sector. It's been like that sector dominates the work that the ministry,
the information aspect,
the work that the ministry does. But it does not have the same potential that, say, you may have in culture and tourism, particularly tourism, which I would think is for a long time being a low-hanging fruit that has not been harvested. And so let me just give you a picture of what it has been. All the hospitality industries, all the actors in the hospitality industry, they are under our tourism department. So, for example, we give annual lessons to all hotels, motels, inns, all of the different places that accommodates people. We do. From the other end, entertainment places, whether it's nightclub, whether it's a bar, whether it's whatever it is, we also give them lessons. Whether it's video club, whether it's cinema, we provide them lessons. So there's a great deal of work that is done in our sector. We also pay attention to places that we consider touristic sites in the country. But that big sector, particularly with hospitality, has not been cooperating with the government at large. That is because in the past, what people were more focused on is to exploit the relationship rather than give them the space to grow. What do I mean? Minister Pia is the Minister of Information, Culture Affairs, and Tourism. He's having a guest coming into the country. He calls one hotel, say, "You got to accommodate my guests." I had a number of meetings with them since I took over. And they complained about how they were not respected, how even officials in government could just talk to them like kids and abuse them.
These are stakeholders in the sector
Correct.
telling you.
I've had meetings with them severally and just insult them. So two things they decided to do. They decided that they would not be cooperative with the government, and many of them were not compliant as far as their annual registration is concerned. Because it's like you ask me to pay, in some cases, some of them pay $700 annually, but then individual officials of government are sending people to their places and they are owing them amounts in 3, 4, 5,000, and you can't pay. And the man says, how do you expect me to pay my $700, my $800 per annum for registration fees? And then you use my facility and you don't want to pay. So the truth is that over 60% of the people in the sector were not compliant, and the government basically did not have the ability or the capacity to compel compliance. So
But there was a bargaining chips here.
Well, even if the funding aspect was okay, you must have a relationship of mutual respect. I mean, these are business people. Don't forget that beyond the levies they pay through the Ministry of Information, these people pay their taxes. They register their businesses. They have other obligations. But because they are under a sector, the law requires that they will have to do annual registration, which they have not had any problem with. But if they are doing something in a sector, the sector must also be able to stand up for that. What do you do as a government? So what we do when they have all the different issues that are undermining how they can progress, we got to pay attention. Say, for example, somebody complains that you go to Gambia, what you pay in some of the luxurious hotels is nothing. But we need not forget that Gambia has constant electricity. Yeah, most of the hotels run on diesel engines. It's an addition to the cost. So if they are facing all these constraints, you got to sit with them, understand their play, because at the end of the day, if you make all of them compliant, look around the country vastly. Just go look at in small city like Ganta. I don't want to just picture the whole country. See how the hospitality industry is booming there. Go right here to Bikano. And then in Monrovia, it's all over the place. If we do the right things and all these people are compliant, it's additional revenue because we don't collect the money directly. You pay through LRA and just show us the flag received that you are compliant. That's all we do. So the money still goes direct to the government.
Yeah.
And we called the LRA, we sat down, we planned together how we can maximize whatever we're supposed to do in our sector, and working with them, we've been having a great leap in the revenue generator. They have confidence in our administration. We've given them assurances, they feel more comfortable. They believe they're in an environment again that is business friendly and that the actors respect them. We've been seeing a steady climb in revenue. One of the challenges we've had, which we're trying to work on, is all these sectors are doing these things. For example, they're supposed to be monitoring the hotels. All these sectors are supposed to be monitoring them. They don't have a single motorbike. So monitoring has been a challenge also. We're making
on the part of the government.
Yeah, we got to monitor. The tourism department does that, but to do so, the men need to be mobile. How do they go to Ganta to know that the hotels there are just following the simple rules and they are standards? Because part of what you do to advance tourism, if guests are here, they go in your hotels, they see the services are bad. Liberia is not a place to go. Even the hospitality service is so bad. So you want to make sure that it's okay, so that when a guest is here, they sleep in your hotels, they leave with an impression that will make them want to come back. They go to your entertainment places, the services they get, we want them to come back. All of these small things, we have to do that. In addition to the bigger picture. Now, bigger picture is we must have a sense of security here. If they see our country as lawless, if they see protestation in concession areas, the burning down places like what we saw in Salala and other places, if they see every day some group of people wanting to get in the street, disrupting and causing security concerns, even as we mitigate all the other things, it will still undermine tourism. So tourism, to have it progress, there must be a kind of beacon and holistic approach we are working on. The other ones that are within our purview will do it. Because I and my team, we committed to make sure that the kind of transformation that we need to boom that industry is good. And of course, we're working with the president's office, the national legislature, to institutionalize the sector in another way by a proposal that will create what we call the National Tourism Authority.
I still want to stick with hospitality sector. I
Yeah.
mean, there are new ones springing up.
Mhm.
You know, have you mapped the entire sector to know how many hospitality providers we have in the country, or you dealing with the ones you met there?
Every entity that is established as a hospitality entity is tracked in our database. So we have a full account of what they are. What the challenge is, as I said to you, is our capacity to ensure, because it's not just about knowing about it. First of all, when you build a hotel, for example, there are critical benchmarks that you must meet. The one who will do the inspection and determine that you met those benchmarks is the Ministry of Information through the tourism department. That capacity we need, that someone can get in the picker and drive from here, say, to Ganta, to drive from here to Basso, to Kakata, just everywhere where they are springing up, to be able to even cover Monrovia, where we are effectively, where we got dozens and dozens of hotels. We don't have that capacity. Many of the times it's improvisation. We using private money to pay somebody, put somebody on motorbike to go and so we've made this case. Part of what we're hoping can happen is the folks are looking at a recast of the budget. We've been making the case and say, look, we not consider as a revenue generating entity by the measure that the financial sector got, but indeed we've been generating revenue, and we can do so in a very impressive way when you strengthen what we do so that we can do better. And there's a commitment that, yes, probably during that time of the recast, we can get some little funding that can give us a couple of vehicles that will be used basically for monitoring. We're pushing that, and we have some commitment that is possible. But that was just tourism. You see the cultural sector with all of the artistry and all of these things all over the place. Do you move around Mabam Point at the time? You see all the people on the street in other places developing
art and crafts.
Art and craft materials. These people also honor us. They pay money to us, annual fees as well. When guests come to our country, those are some of the things that attract them. How do we advance it? One of the things we've done is to talk to people who run all the big hotels, find a little space so that these people can have their stuff displayed in your hotel. That when the guests come, they don't have to leave the hotel and go to Mama Point, go to this place and go to different place looking for these things, that they can find it right in the hotel. Again, it's the same relationship matter we talk about. They're cooperating at the maximum level. What that does is promoting the cultural heritage of the country. It's showing to the world what we have to offer culturally. They can come and go back with souvenirs and say, look, I got this thing from Liberia, culturally beautiful.
But are these hotels owners listening to you?
They do.
Are they buying the idea?
Oh, they do. That's why
displaying these traditional materials at their hotels.
They do. I was just at Farmington. That's just in one spot. In Farmington, in fact, they got it through many spots because that more than one person is doing it. If you go to Boulevard Palace, it's there. You go to Royal, it's there. We have been messaging that we got to do it all over. Don't let these people to be in the street. When the guests come here, the first place they go is the place where they are lodged. Let's do it there, because culture and tourism, they are like two bring children. They go hair in hair. They come together. So when you bring both of them together in that kind of way, trust me. So there's been a lot of visibility being given to that sector. The group they call LINTA is the association of actors in the tourism sector, tourism stakeholders, where May Ure is their president. That's one of the groups that we've gotten maximum cooperation for. In fact, what they've done of late, they work with us with opening a tourist information booth at the RIA for the first time in the history of the country. So when people come, they arrive at the airport, you want to get some information about tourism, you go right to the booth, we deploy people there from the Ministry of Information who are working there. You go there, you get all the information you need about the tourism potential of the country. Where can I go? Can I go to Wakala? Where is Wakala? You got all the information there. Can I go to the other one that we just opened in Yeke Park? Can we go there? Yeah. We're expanding. The USAID is working with the country on how we can expand these eco lodges across the country. And the way it is happening is good. If Vavle Kamara is in that industry, what they do is that they have this process of where people can compete for and get this free grant. I mean, grant. Grant means free money, not loan. You don't have to pay back. But you must have demonstrated your capacity in the area, and you must have some initial seed funding. So, for example, if you win the award, say it's 200, 300,000, it's added onto what you already have, and they help you to build the eco lodge, and then the management and running of it is left for you. They don't play any role into it, it's for you. So we're doing that across the country, and that is giving huge visibility to the sector. So, I mean, much more can be said, but I wanted to talk about the ministry holistically, but because that was your interest, so we started with that.
Yeah, but I mean, what we'll say that the information or communication aspect of the ministry, the work you do, will continue to overwhelm tourism and culture until these two are detached from the ministry.
I don't think that's the issue. I don't resist the detachment. That's what I support the bill. But I don't think that's the solution. Then we're mistaken. I've made a fundamental a point here. You detach it. You do everything. The hospitality industry is booming. There's still a semblance of security problem. You go nowhere with it. Money don't like trouble. Tourists themselves are concerned about their safety. No matter how beautiful the different tourist sites are, they will come only when there are clear indications that the place is safe for them to come. They don't come when they see your country as a lawless country that is not prepared to make progress. They don't come. So while we support that detachment and manage the detachment, let me just give you an instance so that you know that detachment is not a problem. Right now, we have signed an MOU with a Heritage Foundation from the United States of America. In 3 years, they're going to invest $7 million. Did you hear me well? $7 million in transforming the Providence Island into a cultural heritage. $7 million. They came to the country, they made a special presentation on what they intend to do that will cost that much money. We've seen it, we've impressed with it, we've signed the memorandum of understanding, we're going to run with it. You're going to see a different Providence Island, even if it is not in the 3 years, because there's been some delay in meeting the signing and all of these things. But it's obviously going to happen before President Boubacar leaves power. That's the sector, the same culture and tourism sector. We're taking some actions. The Land Authority and the Ministry of Justice have made some intervention. Don't forget, when President Selig was in charge, I was part of that government. We destroyed the Kenneja Cultural Center because we were of the opinion that the intervention that was being made by billionaire Bob Johnson in building the RLJ Hotel was needed, again, for the expansion of the sector. And we thought, since that was a place of interest, then we could find another place. They built a hotel. We found the land to build a new culture center, 50 acres, right on the main road driving into Marshall. Unfortunately, as transitions took place, not much was done to protect the place. Nothing was done there substantively. The land was encroached upon. Of the 52 acres to be correct, only 10 acres remain in Vavle. When I took over, the first thing we did was to go and find out what was happening to that land. When we got there, we saw exotic homes being built all over the place. And then we wrote the Land Authority and the Justice Ministry to just seek information on what has happened there. And when they went, they determined that only 10 acres of the 52 acres remain. So they have taken the decision, they're going to do a survey. And the way we did it is, even though the folks who did all of that thing they were wrong, but we should blame ourselves. One of the things we should have done as a government in the first place, if you're not ready to build, If you own 52 acres in that kind of place that everybody rushing with no money to do anything, fence the place.
Mhm.
Fence the place completely.
There should be some level of security.
Yeah, nobody will bust your fence and go inside. But we didn't do it. The place is vulnerable. The place is exposed, and people just some even-minded people being in the society just went and started selling land to the people. Now, can we wake up one morning as a government and say we're going to break down all these horses because you did it illegally? So what our approach was as a ministry was to hold a series of meetings with the people there, aided by the Ministry of Justice and the Land Authority. They were all clear that they've done wrong. Nobody put up a single resistance. We had several engagement meetings. At the end of those engagement meetings, the Land Authority, aided by the Justice Ministry, they agreed that we're going to do the survey. They all agreed to collaborate, to cooperate, and they will be there. The survey will take place. We paying for the survey. After the survey and all of the determinations are made, then we have to have a conversation, honest conversation on what can we do.
Are those homes risk demolition?
Well, that's why we engage in. It's easier to say, let's just demolish it. But I'm talking about homes built on 42 acres. Meaning, vastly, it affects thousands of persons, because you see how connected people are. One family may have.
I mean, that would not be the first time that happened. We saw what happened with the Fendel demolition.
So the reason why the Fendel and other places took place the way it did was that the initial approach was court action. We have not taken the route of court action. We sought to engage the community, and I can tell you that I've been fruitful. In the end, we make some determinations that way. I mean, we got to take some thought too. So we got to make a determination that is a win-win situation. And honestly, if you had to ask me, I don't know why I informed the action then as to whether to build a culture center, you needed 52 acres. I don't think so. But since we got 52 acres,
they were overly ambitious.
I think so. But we should have done something to protect the 52 acres. Now that we did not do so, we still got 10 acres, which is a lot. 10 acres. You know what 10 acres is? It's a lot. So the engagement at the end of the day, that's why we involve in the Justice Ministry. That's why the Land Authority is involved. At the end of the day, we will find a solution that does not lead to chaos, that does not lead to crisis. Because that's what the government is about in the first place. You got to be sensitive to the plight of people, even in cases where there are some wrongdoing and they admit. For example, many thoughts could be thinking through. Okay, since they have admitted, you do a survey and you find out that these things that they were wrong, but you know within yourself you don't need 52 acres for a survey. They have built exotic structures on those things. Can you value both the structures and the land and make some determination whether people can now purchase and own them as a property? I'm not saying that's what we would do, but these are approaches we're looking at, because trust me, you in all the places you make reference to, you get carry bulldozers, you break down mansions that people have built. You know, sometimes you may be acting within the confines of the law, but sometimes they come with whipping, with wailing, and people are distressed. But again, these are the same people we said we came to rescue. So we got to approach it gingerly to make sure that in the end, peace will reign. I mean, you know, so we determine, one of the reasons why we pay attention there is I am committed, and I've had a conversation with the president over and over, that we must restore the home of the National Cultural Troupe. We must build a Kennedy, since we broke down what they had before at their home. Because the challenge we have there, if we wanted the cultural troupe to perform anywhere now, do you know what we do? We run after them in all the different communities they live, because that's what they are now. What Kennedy did, it had accommodation, it had schools, it had medical facility, it had a theater for practicing. Everything was done in that compound. With the compound destroyed, people live in different places, to even bring them to a national event, you got to be looking for them wherever they are, bring them together. They don't even have the time to practice well. We got to restore that, because it's part of our heritage. Yeah. And I'm committed to doing that. Those are some of the things we're doing. There's this top man national center for something is in Grand Cape County. It's been abandoned. We've gone there, we've done initial assessment. We're looking for a private donor. We'll do project proposals and see how we can restore it. The Bessar Cultural Village is right here in Bomi County, also in Rome. We are paying attention. Just the other day, we were at the National Museum when the Angie Brooks Center, working with other actors, launched what they call the compendium of the Liberian presidency. They thought to launch it there. And they went there, they saw the situation at that place. The president of the republic was expected to go there. Former President Sedi was the launcher. The Chief Justice was there, and former Vice President Joel. All the dignitaries were coming. But when you enter that place, it's like you're in a fiery furnace. Hot, even during this time.
Okay.
The ministry did not have money because all the dignitaries were going there. I had to talk to some friends and say, look, we got to change something over there before the people go there. On the eve of that day, we had to go there to install 2 standing units that made the place a little bit conducive for the guests to be there. The structure itself, that we call a national museum, if it will be kept in that place, it needs total refurbishing. That's part of the intervention we're making all in our sector for culture and tourism.
Okay, Minister, let's move forward. Let me announce that during the interview, I'll speak with the acting Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Minister Anthony Myers, to react to this allegation of budget alteration. But Minister, there's audits, the GAC.
So before you run anywhere, I just want to complete this situation. We spend all the time on culture and tourism. So what ministry did we inherit? We inherited a ministry with 5 accounts, both at the Central Bank and UPA. The 5 accounts is because a group like the Liberian News Agency has an account. The New Liberian newspaper has an account. So 5 accounts. All 5 accounts were met in the negative, meaning no dam were in there. You see the physical outlook of the building. You know how it is. Nobody got to tell you the story. I took over in February. Besides salaries, no other funding, whether for operation or anything, went to the ministry until the first week of May. So think about that. February, March, April, May. Ask yourself how the ministry were running. Only salaries. But it would interest you to know that during this period, all of our offices not being habitable, we individually, I told my deputy and assistant ministers, that's where you will sit. We cannot just wait for government. You got to do something. And I had to lead by example. You haven't gone to my office, right?
I've been to the building. I've been to a few offices.
But you haven't been to my office?
No, not yet.
Did you go there in the last 6 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so because you went there in the last 6 years, you need to go there now, and you will tell the story.
There's a transformation.
Well, you go there. I don't want.
But your predecessor complain of lack of support.
But I just said to you, I didn't have support. I told you I took over February. I didn't get any operational funding until the first week in May. But it was during this period of non-support that I transformed that office. It was
a self-help initiative.
It was during this period of non-support that all the ministers transformed their offices. Right? The entire roof of that building has been rotting. The last time you and I talked on your show, the president has given instruction for some money to be given because that building was built in 1964. It's rotting. Action has not been taken, even though the president instructed. What did we do? We didn't sit down to fold our hands to complain. We talked to friends, people who got interest in us. The roofing of the building is gone 80%. It shall finish very soon. The conference room there, we've also asked a friend who made some intervention. The same transformation that have taken place in my office. If you get back to the conference room, maybe in the next few weeks, you're going to see a new conference room. And we're pushing out the effort for the funding that was sanctioned by the government to be provided so that a holistic approach of transforming the entire ministry takes place. When we got there, when we're having press conference, when AAC current goes, you're busy. When you carry on as soon as the current goes, you don't continue. Only your social media page. No alternative source of electricity. In the last 1 week, we've installed a brand new 45 kVA generator. So that power outage situation that we're being faced with will not be a problem anymore. We solved that. Still without the kind of support that is needed, because who provided that? That's why I talk about relationship. Every time when the current goes, I will call money captain. And when one day he was complaining as a chief, but you got the power to do something, you're an AAC man. And then he said, okay, we're talking to some of our partners and we think we can do something about it. Until he calls me one day and say, Chief, I help you to solve the problem. We're making one brand new 45 kV. That's engagement. It's not about just complaining that you're not being supported. You got to engage.
That's relationship with information.
Yeah, you got to engage. So many things were there because we didn't have money. Since I took over, and I would beg you guys to be doing it. I don't know why on your Super Money show, even if not all the newspaper, take a select group of newspaper. Or if not no newspaper at all, do your responsibility to read the headlines in the New Liberia every morning in the Super Money show. Especially the days that it come out. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. 3 days a week. And that newspaper is not for sale. But we still got the capacity to keep producing.
So how do you generate funding to produce?
So for example, EFBC, you are a government entity. You got something you talk about, you want to advertise something, we say doing a New Liberia and pay some money for it. LPRC, MPA, all the people that got advertisement that they can also give to private entity, do it also in the New Liberia. So that's why it is. We don't sell it. But as though that was that much of a headache to us, we said we want to run a quarterly magazine. The first edition came, I don't know whether you saw it, whether you even talked about it on your show.
I have a copy of it. I talked about it.
So we put that up, and every quarter we produce it. In fact, we already guarantee for the next production because a special coverage was done for the LPRC in that magazine. They pay the money for it. The money they pay for is sufficient to run the second edition in the next quarter. And that's how we intend to run it. As long as our Ministry of Information, you see the New Liberia on, you will see the New Liberia newspaper on, you see the New Liberia magazine on every quarter, you will see a continuous advancement and improvement in our regular press briefing, something that maybe was not happening. Nowadays, it can happen twice and 3 times a week, in some cases 4 times, depending on the issues. All of these things, we're doing it. For the first time in this last 6 years, when it happened, all the folks went to our offices talking about, as they were going for their independence holiday, they were all going home with a bag of rice, even with the constraints we had. Don't forget that there's a ministry that has been described by different actors, different ways. Sleeping Dead Giant, Graveyard, Desert, But isn't that the place people should be? That when something is considered dead.
So what's the reassurance that this will continue as long as you're there?
I'm a very innovative person, and I've also realized that all members of my team are so smart people, determined to work, making all the interventions in their different sector. And let me tell you why. One of the reasons why it worked. When I went to the office of the president to present the magazine, and he saw it, he was overexcited. The quantity we thought to get the president off it, we had to find a way to double it because he was so excited that he was giving it to everybody who is here. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And he was consistently publicly on record praising this. So one of the questions he asked me, how did you people do this? I know you ain't got money. Chief, I get other innovation begging people. He said, when is this supposed to be every quarter? I said, okay, since it's quarterly, I will personally pay for it every quarter. So why shouldn't we continue it? That issue is settled. So you see, I thought to tell this story a bit so that we all know that the state of affairs of an entity when you take over, and even the lack of support thereof, should not be a hindrance to what you can do to ensure some level of transformation. And that's just what we're doing. And we're committed to doing that. We keep pushing. We harnessing our relationship with the bigger media landscape that we work with. That's the reason why you see anything happening to any journalist, irrespective of what kind of relationship I have with them, I'm there because that's part of what I should be doing.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift a little bit.
Correct.
It was good that you chip you with your own. They say, well, no, nobody talk for when you talk for yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know you're reading. Like you said the last time that your information minister for the government, inclusive of the 3 branches, but the Public Accounts Committee of the House, both houses, they are alarmed and they are taken aback by the government's decision to take decision on people, on individuals that are implicated in the audit reports because they are having hearings on the audit reports and all that. And the latest happened to be Aloysius Tallow and the suspended executive governor of the Central Bank of Ghana. What is the government's position, with what the PAC is saying, Senator Amara Kone and all that?
The law requires that when audits are done, it's sent to the legislature for that purpose. The law also does not prevent sharing of the very reports with the executive, with the presidency. What the PSC does is not a court hearing. The PSC cannot say anybody is indicted or anybody is found guilty because they're not a court. Meanwhile, the government has a prosecutorial arm. In addition to what the PSC is doing, if those who got responsibility for prosecution review what has been given to the president, and they found somebody to be culpable of breaching the public trust and doing something that they consider to be wrong, they're not going to wait for the PSC process to take an action. Except you're telling us that because you're doing some hearing, even if those who are in charge of the law will make determination that John Brown is in breach and must be made to account, you don't do it, you wait for the hearing. I don't think that's the intent. I don't think that's the intent. When you talk about prosecutorial authority, the one who will lead any action to the judiciary for that action to take place, not the legislature.
But the point is, these people go there as part of the hearing. They go there to respond.
Your response doesn't mean that the government determined from the report they have that you're culpable for something that they can't take an action. I'm not sure that's what it means. They can keep doing their work because that's why it calls for. But if you're suggesting that because they're doing so, even if the Justice Ministry or so finds evidence for which somebody can be charged, they should not do it because hearing going on. Is that what you're saying? I think then we're both reading what we're working towards achieving here from two different lenses. And I'm not sure that our good friends who are doing a great job with what they do at those hearings are also in a public argument. I haven't heard them say that because we're doing public hearing, if the government determines that somebody is supposed to be charged based on their review of all the report, they should not do it until we finish doing it. Because in the end, what they're doing that, they can say somebody is charged. They don't have
but is there a reason why these people who at the end of the day will answer based on the audit reports are being suspended, removed from their positions? Is there a particular reason why that decision has been taken?
So, for example, if you have a report and that report reflect things that are deeper that must be investigated, the one who is at the center of the investigation can continue to be in charge while you're investigating. It doesn't happen anyway. So you say you're suspended because you are a center of an investigation. It's normal. It's conventional. So the reason why they use the word suspension and not dismissal is because you're not dismissed. If the investigation determined that you did nothing wrong, yes, your suspension could be lifted based on the funding of that investigation. If the investigation finds out further that you did something and charges are brought against you, of course, you can go back to the position and serve.
Well, how is the government committed? Is the government committed to pursuing these audit reports?
More than committed.
Because there's this anxiety on the part of some Liberians who think that this is just a showboating thing.
Then wait for the end result. Normally, it is said that the end justifies the means. It's easier for you to make conclusions even at the very beginning of a process, which is unfair. It's always better to give space and time to processes as they evolve, because these are not events. If you want to hold people accountable, it's not an event that you can just have an instant creation environment to say, let there be light and there was light.
Okay.
It's a process. And if you don't give the process a chance and start to make conclusions about what you think the intent is, it means you yourself not serious about the country. Especially you talk about people in the public. I can understand the political actors who can today come out and say everything that happened is wish on. Okay, right now the legislature has said they believe the budget was altered. They're calling for an investigation. Have you heard anybody from the government circle cry and say, oh, were they coming to investigate our wish hunt? If other people can do investigation, it's not wish hunt. And then the other side doing it, then all you hear all over the place is noise about wish hunt. Then what kind of country do we want? One of the things that we all have cried about continually in the place is that we've been promoting the culture of impunity. We said that. Now you have a leader who is trying to muster the political will rather than giving the space and time, the reading meanings into why don't give it a chance? Give it a chance. Look, I've said it consistently, I will say it again. Look at what led to charges against the group of people who were charged along as far as what happened at the Financial Intelligence Agency is concerned. So President Bouaka and his government just woke up from in the middle of the night and said, "We charging them?" Of course not. There was a painstaking investigation conducted by the LACC on its current leaders. Who appointed those leaders? The team of commissioners you have the LACC and President Bouaka put in there? No. But I have always said of recent that I give it up to them. I salute them. Because even
you mean the heads of LACC, Alexandra Azo, all the LACC that
they were all appointed under the past government. They did this investigation connected to the past government. They put out those fundings which led to charges being levied. The central bank case, who appointed Gaswa? It's not Bouaka. But he did a piece of job and the report is available. You hear everybody talking about the report. It's a public document. What that tells us is that, it's just about leadership. Ask yourself the question, aren't these the same people who ran these entities and not much was happening? What all of a sudden this reinvigoration? Leadership. They see that the leader of the country is interested and has exercised maximum political will, granted them the space, the freedom, and everything that is required to do their job without fear. They can't have any thinking that they could end up like Abba Peters, or they could end up like Bata Nyeswa, or they could end up like Gifty Lama. They don't have that fear. So they're doing what is required of them under the law. And when they do so, and our prosecutors review their work and are able to determine that somebody somewhere committed something that requires accountability, the government will go ahead and do just that.
Now, this is where the perception of witch hunting comes in. The intentional pursuing and prosecution of these investigations, the other reports, the work that the LACC is doing. People who are affected by those investigations may think that they expect this government to relax them.
I don't understand when you say to relax them. Relax what?
To relax the prosecution of these investigations.
Why?
That's how they think.
No. You elevate. I haven't heard from them. You pushing it for them.
No, but giving you.
So you should have been interested in knowing from them why.
Where you think the witch hunt thing perception is coming from?
Well, basically, the witch hunt thing is just tautology, if I should put it that way.
But because something is giving rise to that.
No, but under our laws, it's very clear that everyone who has been accused of something is presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. And that's the reason why when a former leader says, rather than saying, all right, that's what they say, we trust our level of innocence, we'll defeat them in the court of law. When you say you will resist, it's no regard to the court. It means you don't believe in the rule of law. And you cannot be crying witch hunt. Okay. So when Charles Saliv and others were handcuffed before their employees, 7 o'clock in the night, it's unheard of. That's not when you go to grab people. Handcuff. No charge. Placed in orange suit. Taken to South Beach. And I remember then, Weeks, Saliv, Rachel Walker, Double Harbor, and you name them. They were ghost hunt or witch hunt. Brandon Samuka, wanted by his people, went through an electoral process. He was not told anywhere during the process that he had some criminal ability and cannot run. He ran. He won the election. All of a sudden, bam, denied the seat. The seat recontested. Somebody else took the seat. A witch hunt.
And he was pardoned.
A witch hunt. A witch hunt. Precious Bully for the Ministry of Gender, just on a social media post that offended a government official and promised her that her days at the gender ministry were numbered. And eventually she was dismissed. Very qualified young lady. That witch hunt. People who believe they were using the laws yesterday to hold people accountable cannot be the ones crying witch hunt. When the legal process is evolving, commit yourself to that process. For example, one of the actors, he's written over 30 posts on social media. And one will expect that by now he will be in the country.
Are you making reference to the former Fanas?
I'm making direct reference to him. Where is he? He appears to be.
Is the government offended by what he's doing?
Offended for
by
what?
He posts and all.
Who's not offended? I'm only referencing. I say the time you're taking to read all that post, you'll be coming to exonerate yourself. Because initially in the first post, this witch hunt will be defeated in the court. How long has it been? And by the way, maybe you don't know. An Interpol alert has been issued for him. And you see, I'm not a lawyer, but there's a common Marxist. Flight from the law, they say, is an admission of guilt. So that's the reason why even if you're in Timbuktu and they say you're being charged for something, come to exonerate yourself. Because when you run, the Marxists say it's an admission of guilt. It doesn't even, the thing that's supposed to be settled in the court of law, how are you attempting to settle it in the court of public opinion? Court of public opinion will not settle the matter. This matter will be settled in court. So the energy, the exuberance, and everything you usually be writing 50 posts. It's a waste of your time. Come. It's not the first time people be indicted here. My friend Edwin Snow, Richard Devine, even the late Chairman Judy Bryant, and a whole list of other people. They were charged after the transitional period. They exonerated themselves in the court of law, not in the court of public opinion. When Cabinet Jane, as a justice of the court, was sitting down doing his work, he was removed. Nobody cried witch hunt. I mean, let's stop this thing. Let's stop this thing.
You're listening to the Super Morning Show on ELBC Radio. Let's try to speak with the acting finance minister, the acting. I see us going extra.
Because you told me that for some reason this show was special. We start 8:30, and I heard you announcing 9 o'clock. So I just said I'm in my car to wait for your 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Anyway, we got LBS, the ASBO chair to weigh in on the complex, the groundbreaking for the construction of the LBS complex by the Chinese government. But we'll speak with the acting finance minister, Anthony Myers, as soon as we get him. We will be speaking with him to react. Just put in context the allegation of budget alteration. You know, I was speaking with somebody from the Ministry of Finance, and the person, a senior person, the person said, we actually don't know what's going on. I mean, don't know if this is, but Minister Anthony Myers, Minister, good morning. Welcome to the Super Morning Show on ELBC.
Yeah, good morning.
Great.
I said good morning, and good morning to Liberians at home abroad, and good morning to all our friends.
Thank you very much for accepting our call. I guess you've heard about this whole debate of budget alteration, specifically coming from some lawmakers, senators, and representatives as well. Has it claimed the attention of the Ministry of Finance that there is an allegation of budget alteration?
Yeah, definitely it has claimed our attention, but we can say it hasn't caused any unnecessary panic among us, because just like you mentioned, they are all claims, and claims always have to be verified. So what we have been waiting for is the verification, where exactly were the alterations made, and from which line item to which line item, and what is the perceived basis for such claims of alterations. But from our perspective, from what we know, nothing of such happened, not in the way that is being portrayed out there in the public. And for us, this is nothing new. The Ministry of Finance or other institutions always come under this kind of, or I don't want to call it attack, but more like suspicion that are not based on facts.
The speaker has also publicly said that he's probing this matter. You could be called to the House to further explain this. I mean, just to understand, and for the layman to understand, when they talk about budget alteration, what exactly is their perception is?
Well, I can speak to people's perception, but talking about whether the speaker or other lawmakers will want to probe, that for us is the best alternative. That is the way government processes are conducted. Because before you get to the public, you should be able to say that, well, we cited the Ministry of Finance or we made inquiries with the Ministry of Finance for information on X, Y, and Z issues, and this was their response. And then you can now say whether the response were adequate or inadequate, whether they were consistent or inconsistent, so that you go to the public with the information about inquiries that you have made with the relevant institution. But as far as we know, there have been no formal citation. There have been no formal request to us, either in writing, to identify the areas of safety or alterations, and we fail to respond.
But given the status of the budget, is it possible for the budget to be manipulated?
Well, for this management team at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, manipulation is not on our agenda. It's not in our perception. In fact, it is the avoidance of manipulation for which we are being often accused of not being responsive to people's requests. Because if you ask us for resources that is not in your budget, we can give it to you when you don't have it. Or when we don't have cash available to service the request, we cannot go any other way like doing extra budgetary.
When you say people, who are those you're talking about?
Look, when I say people, I'm generally speaking about institutions of government or other interested persons who have claims on the budget. Some claims come to us that are not budgeted. This is normal. We do extra budgetary expenditure for issues or emergencies that crop up after the budget has been approved. It's normal. You do that. You find resources from other places to service those emergencies. For example, we know things have been happening out there like Kinjo, for example, or the aftermath of the Totota incident, for example, and many other issues. City cleaners, for example, besieging the facilities of the Monrovia City corporations. These things were not foreseen at the time of budget approval, but when they do come up, we have to respond.
Okay.
Or, for example, the undocumented workers, 700 plus workers of the Ministry of State. This was not budgeted. This information was not passed to us during the transition. But when the protesters emerged with their claim, we have to help the Ministry of State to service those claims. Those are things that we can respond to. But in the event, for example, where such claims come to us, and we say resources are not readily available, meaning we want to use the appropriate processes for sourcing those funds. One will just have to wait. But this specific case, I mean, maybe we are kind of sidetracking, but on the specific allegations or claims about us at the Ministry of Finance altering budget, people making that claim, we need to have a much stronger case to make to the public. Just pronouncing it in the media or on social media doesn't cut it. It's not enough. We are willing to be cited to the legislature, and when we are cited, we are expecting to be confronted with the facts, and we will respond with what we have available to us.
Okay. That's great. Let's divert a little bit. I mean, there is ongoing nationwide consultation about the national development agenda. It's taking place at the district level and the county level. The Ministry of Finance and Development Planning and partners leading that charge. How far are we with that?
We should be concluding the consultations at the sub-national level at the end of this week. Tentatively, we expect to conclude by the 15th, which is on Thursday. But again, these are interactions. These are both technical. It could be administrative, and there could also be exogenous factors like weather and road conditions. They affect the scheduling. But as far as we know to date, the guys in the field have not told us anything to the contrary. They are not giving us any reason why they can't finish on the scheduled time of the 15th of this month, which is Thursday. And beyond that, then we will now come to finalize a national level consultation.
But it's making progress. Are the people making their inputs?
Very impressive progress. And it's very consultative. It's very inclusive. It involves everybody, governmental and non-governmental stakeholders at the national and subnational level.
So at the end of these consultations, what's next?
At the end of the consultation, we will collate all of the inputs from stakeholders at the various forums and try to get a pro forma draft of the National Development Plan. By pro forma meaning, if all of the views and concerns are taken into consideration, what is the shape and direction of our development strategy for the next 5 years beginning 2025. Then we will look at that, and then the next stage beyond that will be the costing. Okay. If all of these views and priorities were to be funded, how much would that cost? Where will we get the resources from? And how are we going to mobilize the resources from those sources? So that will be the next stage. Then, of course, given what is realistically possible with respect to our projected economic performance, with respect to our projected revenue performance over the period, the 5-year period, with respect to our expected external support, we will then begin to whittle down or to restructure those priorities and rank them in order of preference. Okay. So that those ones that are several considerations will be given, right? Which ones are more urgent for the national and sub-national or local concerns? Secondly, which ones gather the most consensus, which one do the majority of participants or the majority of districts and counties seem to favor? Because you also have to impute a bit of democracy in your planning process. If the majority of counties or districts or participants prefer certain type of or priority interventions, then obviously that is the manifest or declared will of the people. You have to give that. Okay. You have to prioritize that. So there will be several other considerations, and I just outline one of those.
And it will be officially launched. Do we know when?
We are expecting. I cannot give you precise date, but I can give you critical milestones. Okay. We expect that the outcomes of the planning process will be incorporated into next year's budget. Okay. And the planning for the budget has already started, because on the revenue side, we've begun the revenue engagement since the 1st of July to indicate what could be the potential resource envelope for 2025 fiscal year. As soon as we submit the recast budget to the legislature, hopefully this week, we will immediately launch into the preparation for next year's budget. In fact, we consider these consultations as part of the initial preparations, because you must note that our budget preparation processes are two phases. We have the strategic phases. It's in the strategic phase that priorities are identified. Okay. So with this year now, the national consultations, the sub-national consultations, they also double as the consultation for the strategic phase, meaning identifying the priorities for the next year. Remember, we said the plan is for 5 years, right? Beginning 2025. So obviously, we are asking participants to also identify what are the priorities for 2025.
Okay.
So just by doing that, we are also doing the strategic phase of the budget, meaning the identification of development priorities and options for different ministries, agencies, districts, and counties.
Okay, using your stool to kill two birds. Anyway, Minister, thank you very much for chipping in on the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, he's the acting finance minister, Anthony Myers, there, just reacting to this whole allegation of budget alteration, and it played the allegation is coming from. It was just necessary to hear from the acting minister, but I mean, we're still with the information minister, Jeremy McPia. Is it an intentional distraction that you see here? Do you describe that allegation as an intentional distraction from what's happening with governments? Push for transparency, accountability.
I wouldn't want to say that because I'm not sure I have evidence to support such claim. I'm told, in fact, somebody informed me that the issue was brought to the attention of the speaker by one of our friends who is an honorable senator. Maybe he has the basis for doing so.
Okay.
And without allowing an investigation to take place to query or distraction would be unfair to not just the national legislature that I have some respect for, but to that individual senator. And that's what the minister said they look forward to, and we appreciate very highly an invitation to go and talk about the issues. And maybe at the end of the issue, and based on what was found out, if the issue got no basis here, then we can say something stronger than what we're saying now. But without giving a chance to that investigative process, I don't want to jump the gun by calling it any other way.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking you that is because the chairman of the CDC Legislative Caucus posted and said, and I'm going to read it very verbatim before we take calls. I'm calling on the speaker, deputy speaker, and all members of the CDC Legislative Caucus to not proceed with any budget debates, whether the recast or 2025 budgets, until the allegations surrounding the budget alteration and all that is budget manipulation. Is
so a level why his intentions are.
That was what he's saying. I was asking if it is
a level why his intentions are. For him, maybe the country should not go anywhere, right? And don't do anything. Don't have budget debate. Don't do anything. But he was Minister of State here. A lot of things went on. He should not tempt us. And I'm responding to him now as somebody who's trying to speak. Not just calling on the legislature. The fact that he narrows it to CDC means that he hasn't seen the national perspective of the governance structure that is going on here. He was here. He was here 6 years ago. Many of the laws around this place were attributed to him. They got to take time. This country is not going to be stagnated because some party that is not in power believes nothing should happen. And I think he should more focus on recalibrating. He got too many issues to contend with than to just be raising all these things he tried to raise. I mean, if you believe that something is wrong and the whole Senate should approach it, say the Senate should not do this because of this. It's nationalistic. Even with your status as chair of a legislative caucus, all you're trying to do is to infuse partisan sentiments and politics into a national development issue. So he's not the one who was instructing the speaker when he said they will investigate that. He didn't need to put himself on any record as though the speaker will be operating based on a mandate from him. Okay. The speaker knows better. The speaker is a smart man. I know some of the challenges he passed through because they want to impose on him things that are just so partisan. He's been stepping out to want to be nationalistic. He's already announced what he's going to do. Why do you try to give him a political mandate? Just to be heard? Okay. These are people who are just on the stage and we know how they left this country. Let them slow down.
Okay, call us on 0770581886, 0770581886. and be live. A couple of things we've talked about. Let's hear from this person here. Good morning.
Daddy, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
This is Pascal Davis on district number 6.
Yeah, Pascal, let's hear you.
Yeah, so the minister is now confirming to the world that George Weah appointed qualified and competent people, even at the LCC.
Did he dispute anything like that?
No, because when you say George Weah appointed him, you criticize George Weah yesterday for appointing people in position who you claim were not qualified. I see that as a contradiction. See, we are not saying that Mr. Walker is president.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No, don't cut me off.
No, I'm not cutting you off. I said wrap up. No, Chief. No, Chief. Pascal.
Well, you can't be rude on a radio station. Don't be rude. You've been rude.
Pascal.
You've been very rude. You don't do that.
Listen to me, Pascal. In the first place, you lie on the minister to say the minister criticized former President Weah for appointing unqualified people. He didn't say that. The point he was trying to make is these are people who were appointed by the former president, and nobody should cry foul or cry worship because these are people who enjoy his appointing power. So they are doing their work. So there should be no reason people who appointed people coming back to say these people are haunting them. That was what he said. So you lie in the first place.
Who got no respect,
I was saying please wrap up. I was not cutting you off, and you say you accuse me falsely. So don't do that, Pascal. We can take some calls. 7705818886, 0770581886, and be live. You have to be civil when you call. I know people disagree, but you have to be civil. Call us on 0770581886. Mr. Koti, let's hear you.
Give it, Koti, my name.
Yeah, let's hear you, Chief.
Let me say many thanks to the minister in studio. The Minister of Information. Thank you very much. I also thank the finance minister or IT minister for calling in today. You see, my dear friend and brother Pascal, you got to be very careful. This government is going to land safely. I don't care what you do. All your witch hunting noise you're making all around you, nobody is witch hunting anybody. All the minister was trying to say is that those people at the LSCC are competent people who were appointed by your former president. And so nobody should call this thing a witch hunt because they are doing a damn good job. I don't know where all this thing coming from. Now, listen to how mature the Minister of Information has been and also the Minister of Finance. All your think about tapping in doing something with the budget, just call us. They did not even consult the Ministry of Finance about anything. But boom, on the radio, people did it, even the phone.
Facebook.
Yeah, on Facebook, everything. What is all that thing for? I don't care what you do. This government is going to land safely. The reason why this thing is happening, and I was saying boldly today, your people are playing some kind of technique here, intimidation technique, delay technique. It will not work.
Okay.
This process will continue. Those who are looked at this country. I beg you, let me be very brief here. Look, I came to Monrovia in 1958 when I was 5 years old. I saw Tupman, I saw Topper, I saw do all these people. Nobody is saying that stealing did not go on during those days. But what went on in the past 6 years was complete looting. And people stealing it day in and night. And your thing will not run behind you. You can call it witch hunt. Which one? You will be hunted if you're a witch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Morning. Good morning. What's your name?
Yeah, thank you. This is Mutila from Painesville.
Yeah, let's hear you quickly. 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank the Honorable Minister Jeremy Pierre Amen for brilliantly answering all of the questions. I'm one of those who follow the minister and who admire him. For me, I think he is the best information minister I've ever had because he answers questions very relaxing without provoking people and without information minister the way they insulting, be abusive. But he answered it responsibly and Honorable Pierre, I just want to thank President Boga for appointing you, and I know that you'll continue to do better work. Don't be distracted by people from the other side. We are committed to the government, and we also want you all to do the right thing for the Liberian people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Aliyu Padikoma, family. I'm calling from Rwanda Power Junction.
Yeah, let's hear you. 30 seconds.
Yeah, let me say thank you to the Minister Institute. Mr. Minister, don't be deterred. We want you to encourage our president. We, the young people of this country, that feel offended by corruption, that we not get no good roads, we get no good hospital, we get no good school in this country. Some of us, we are willing to stand by him to take a debate. You take a debate, the national level, someone will take it in the corner, in the zero, in the mud house, in the concrete house, we'll take it everywhere.
Okay.
The president should not be afraid. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister.
Thank you. We can take 3 more calls. We'll go back to the minister. Morning.
Thank you, Brother Patrick. A pleasant good morning to you and good morning to our partner
Yeah.
studio. My name is Hussein. I'm Hussein Teo, and I phone in from around Jacobstown in District 2. Minister, thank you for being very refined and, informing Liberia people about the government workings, as it relates to the functions and operations of the government. Do not be distracted by some of those distractors. Because in the past, we saw people, the communication arm, everybody will come on the radio and just speak for government. But the level of unity, and coordination within this government that only Mr. Pierce has the right to speak on behalf of government, that is something that we have to applaud you guys for.
Yeah.
So those who will be coming and saying things in the negative, this country will survive. Regardless of the distractions, my girl, to all due respect, does not have that moral standing to custom in this government. Because the government that was highly involved into corruption, you fail to audit the past regime. Now people who trying to do the right thing, now you see that, because of political differences, you want to come back to fight. Nobody going to fight like that because this government is in the interest of the people. This is why the president has said it will not be business as usual. So if you think corruption will be business as usual on this regime, you must be a liar and living the bad dream.
Thank you.
Focus, Minister, do not listen to the distract. Come home, but do the people's job.
Thank you, Hussein. We can take a call and go back to the minister. Call us on 0770581886. Morning. 0770581886 and be live on the Super Morning Show. We'll take this last caller and go back to the minister. Morning.
Good morning, brother.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is Obano Kane. I'm calling you from Waterfall community.
Yeah, let's hear you.
Yeah, I just want to say an appreciation to the Honorable Minister of Information and also the Acting Minister from the Finance. The people just say that they bring all kind of information, bring it on the social media. Can you imagine? Even the House of Representatives, taking information, you now verify and you just send it to the public. You need people who depend on you and send you in that place to go and defend. You know how many persons listening to you people as a representative? You know how many persons listening to you? You know how many persons you are representing? Before you ever say on the radio way to release information, that should be something that has digest that you are very self, our own family. No, be very reasonable before you can take information as a me or representative. You give it out. It's very, very wrong.
Okay.
No matter because you are opposition representative, that will not prevent you to not say the truth. So
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, Minister, would hold it there with the calls and just respond to some of the concerns pretty much more.
No, the callers, we take note of their comments. The only thing I would say is, EFBC is not, it's a national entity and it's not like other entities. We got a sanctity to keep here. And while we give voice to everybody, we will not allow people to deliberately tell lies here. I challenge anybody, whether today on the show or in the past, where I am on record to say Councillor Zoe and the rest of the folks at the LACC are not qualified. Beyond their government thing, you don't know how long I have known Councillor Zoe. Councillor Zoe's father and I are fraternal brother. He's one of the best lawyers the country ever had, and his daughter followed his footsteps. She's a lawyer by excellence. Samuel Dakina served in several positions in the Ellen government, including Commandant of the Trinity Academy, Deputy Police Commissioner for Administration, and etc., etc. How can I be on record anytime to say is he? Does it mean that everybody presidents appoint are suitably qualified? No. Even right in the worker government, there may be some square pegs in square holes. So we may have had some similar situation like that, but how is that tied to the LACC and the GSC in the matters we're discussing here? So sometimes if you don't have anything to contribute to a show and just want to impress your party people that, hey, listen to me, I call, LBS will not be the place for that. And I thank you for doing the right thing. You can't start the premise of a conversation you want to have on the kind of show by telling lies. And let me, so that I don't forget, one of the interventions at the ministry, even though it was introduced under the We Are administration, I'm not sure any of you measured the impact that it made to the overall image of the administration, is the section for new media and national branding. They had a minister there. After an assessment of everything that is happening in the media's landscape, we decided to reintroduce that. That department is going to be aiding deeply the tourism department, because you see, what you do in tourism, Vafle, it's about branding. You're selling the country. So while they also have some role to play with the public affairs department, they are more linked to the tourism sector. And from the indication they've shown me, they gave me a plan, and I've been looking at that plan, and I was so impressed, and was thanking the president for some of the appointments he's made, particularly at my ministry. That's a ministry that does not depend on just me. The ministry is why it is, because there's a team of qualified and competent people, everybody working to ensure that the image that can be created by this country is good. And I intend to, for as long as I'm there, to keep it out, because we need that so deeply. And let me not forget to say, while we're specifically responding to all of these issues, the country is making progress. And like David Kuti said, nothing's going to stop us from doing what we came here to do. Vafle, are you not aware? You've been here, one of the very agile and smart journalists. You follow things in this country. From July, let's say June, July, August, those are the terrible rainy periods in the country. If you take a reflect back, these are the times that cars were getting stuck in the mud for weeks, if not days. This period almost passed. By the time we end April, the rain dying down, and all the roads have been passable. It's something that shows to you that you have a government committed to what you say it would do, and it was doing it before we got inaugurated. All kinds of projection, including some who were part of our team, but that's the area of expertise because they were in the area of finance. And they say, "Oh, what Braga coming to inherit is a dead horse situation. Even to pay salary will be war. We're current with salary. Our international image damaged, our passports in the hands of criminals. The foreign ministry was bold and courageous. Today, that respectability and image has been restored in the international cycle. We are expanding electricity. I live in Broadway for all the years since 2011. The expansion is taking place. The last time the president was there, they were taking that current as far as Bible College. I've been assured by Monique Captain and others that they're stretching it, and eventually the entire Broadway, including where I live, will be covered. More than 500 new connections will be made. We're almost on the verge of turning out the substation in Bassa. You know, the substation for the West African Power Pool will be in different places, some on the Bombing Highway, in Kakata, right here on the RIA Highway in Bassa. The concluding actions are being held for all these power stations to turn up, making electricity available to our people. You know, and all of these great things are happening. You heard about the yellow machine that everybody tried to make noise about. Right now, I think Kudo heads are coming together, and eventually what is...
But why are we not seeing new arrivals?
We're not just displaying new arrivals. Because
but when you started with publicity, you got to end with publicity.
Well, you didn't see me in that publicity. As a chief communication advisor of the government, I had to take charge. Because, I mean, trust me, yes, maybe on the first instant it was okay.
So you shifted gears. Government and the government shifted gears with the arrivals.
The Minister of Information had to take charge. Because if you're doing communication, it's my responsibility. And I'm sure in those initial actions, you didn't see me there. It didn't mean I was opposed to it, but I needed to provide guidance as the head of the sector. But progress is on. And
they are coming.
Progress is on. That's much I can say to you. and everything that the law requires will be met. Because, look, Chief, this is transformative, man. We don't even have those machines on the roads, and the roads are passable throughout the rainy season. So think about it. With 19 pieces of those machines deployed per county, I'm not sure you got 4 on those roads. They are possible. Think about that. This is an infrastructure revolution.
Okay.
Irrespective of disagreements that may have happened along the way as to what was happening, it's good for the country and it will happen. So we're on the way. We're on the way. Bouaka is set to be a legacy president. Because you see, the next election has not been his concern. What has been his concern is the next generation. And I think that's leadership to the core. And as the common saying goes, the fish gets rotten from the head. If President Bouaka came to power and built 47 condominiums, you see every government official building homes like crazy. If President Bouaka came to power, and you just see from the very genesis he's amassing wealth, everybody will do the same. The fish gets rotten from the hair. This fish has a fresh hair. If you open it, you see the blood looking fresh, not rotting. And so the rest of the body of the fish must be in conformity. And that's where we are. Support your government, especially on these questions of accountability. Because and this is how we end. I see young people being misled to say, oh, we'll resist, we'll do this, we'll do it. And a few persons joining the place, they were protesting and encouraging some young people to get there. Think about it, Vafli. 6.5 million transfer in a period of 1 month, all from the account at the central bank into the Financial Intelligence Agency unit. Have you read our ASC report? Nowhere in the report to say when you transfer the 6.5 million, Vafli got this for this purpose, Eugene Fagon got this for this purpose. You only see the transfer, you see the withdrawal. No information how it went. How many of they who people attend to go protest were impacted by it? The individual at the center of it is they and their family. If those fundings are true, that are elevated. When somebody steals, even me, if I were to steal, who does it benefit? So why will you pissed be told to jump in the street for me for something that benefit me and my family? So they gotta be wise. Many of them, they put their lives on the line for the institution they believe in. The people at the top of the ladder, their lives got transformed. They became millionaires. Many of these people remain the same. Because of those situations you find yourself in, don't allow anybody to use you.
Yeah.
For it does not benefit you nor your country that you'll be seen protecting and agitating for people who are alleged criminals. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, the Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, Jerry Limekpia. I may be hosting the Minister of Internal Affairs tomorrow, as if everything goes well. We'll talk about the newly inducted heads of the Traditional Council and everything that's happening at the Ministry of Internal Affairs and all that. My name is Vafli Kamara. Thanks for listening. Keep listening to ELBC Radio. Bye-bye.